UFC Seattle just recently wrapped up, and I am going to recap the entire card. Pretty uneventful or disappointing finish to the main event, you could say. I'll say it. It was a pretty big letdown. Cejudo's vision was all blurry after an eye poke, and he ends up bailing out of the fight. We go to the judges' scorecards. It's a technical decision. I'll go in detail and break down the main event as we get there, but we're going to run up from fight number one all the way up to that main event, which was Cejudo versus Song. So make sure you guys smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe. And let's jump into fight number one. Starting the card off, we had Bukauskas absolutely destroy Rafael Cerqueira. My pick was Bukauskas here, and I was telling people throughout the week that Cerqueira is a complete fraud. The guy has built an 11-1 record, now 11-2, of fighting cans only. His one legit fight was him losing in 50 seconds to Ibo Aslan, who also lost on this card. And Bukauskas ran through him. I mean, what can Cerqueira do? He throws okay kicks from the outside. Bukauskas was relentless with pressure, landed big combinations against the cage. To be honest, Cerqueira was outstanding. He was rocked bad, and then he was dropped against the cage and didn't go all the way down as Bukauskas is just dropping hammers on him. Cerqueira is not UFC level, but this is not me taking anything away from Bukauskas. Hold up. So I want to give Bukauskas his praise. Bukauskas handled Cerqueira exactly as he should have, wrecking him within a round. Bukauskas has actually come a long way. I remember Bukauskas' first UFC run, and it was like, this guy, he's just not built for this. I mean, he went on a 3-fight losing streak, but wasn't horrible, right? He fought Jacek, went to a split decision, lost to Khalil, was still young, but was never impressive. 1-3 on his first run with 3 losses in a row. But since then, he's turned up 4-1 on his second UFC run, and his lone loss was Vitor Petrino when Petrino was undefeated. And he's now won 2 straight, and he's finished 2 straight fights. So there's definitely an evolution. Young guy, too, at 31 in the light heavyweight division. I feel like he's at pretty good age. I mean, his skill set's improved. He's definitely putting in the work. I actually think there's a matchup between him and somebody who also won on this card that might be pretty sensible for the next fight. But I'll wait till we get to that fight to leak the matchup that I think could be next. But either way, Bukauskas deserves a lot of praise here. It was a violent knockout. He ran over Cerqueira in vicious fashion. I saw that he didn't get a Performer of the Night bonus, but I think he should. This maybe wasn't the, number one knockout of the night. I know now it's not knockout. It's just Performance of the Night. There's other sick knockouts, but I feel like he deserves something for running through Cerqueira with ease. Impressive. I like what I saw. Shout out to Bukauskas for kicking ass, man. Easy money, inside distance. Nursultan Ruziboev and Eric McConico. I had picked Ruziboev going in, and the fight went similar to how I expected, but I won't lie to you guys. I actually expected more out of McConico. I really did. I thought that he was going to be a bit more active with his offense. I thought that he might shoot some takedowns. Dude, he literally looked like he froze. He was like, oh shit, I'm in the UFC fighting this giant Nursultan Ruziboev, this Uzbekistan savage. And it's like he couldn't really get anything going. He showed no jab. He's throwing hooks from way out of range. He was fearful of the exchanges in boxing range. So he was throwing a lot of kicks. He was a sucker to that straight left there by Ruziboev. Ultimately, he just didn't have what it takes to handle a guy that, has a lot of pro fights, 35, 9-2. That's a shitload of experience. He's also in his prime. Legit in the middleweight division as a striker. I like his style. I want him to stay at middleweight. I know Ruziboev post-fight said he'd go back down to welter, but forget about that. No. Stay at middleweight. I want to see more Nursultan Ruziboev in the middleweight division. I like his style a lot. I'm a Ruziboev fan. I won't lie to you guys. I've become a fan over probably, that Bruno Ferreira fight. I picked him as an underdog against Ferreira. That was a while ago now, almost 2 years ago. And I became a fan right then. I'm like, I like this guy's style. And since then, I mean, yeah, he lost the fight against Buckley by decision, but down in weight, which I think was a mistake. I like him at middleweight. He absolutely can crack in the middleweight division. He's underrated. I think Nursultan Ruziboev is a little bit underrated. I feel like he can mix it up with a lot of the top middleweights in the world right now. I do. When I think of, not the top, when I say the top, hold on. I'm not saying the top as in the top 10, okay? I'm saying the top, maybe top 50. I got to go to Ranking MMA because Tapology currently is updating their rankings as we speak. So that's unfortunate. But let's see. Where is he? I don't even know where he's ranked at. Of all the middleweights in the UFC, I'm assuming Ruziboev is probably pretty far down the list, even though I don't think he should be. Let's see. Ruziboev. Oh, wow. He's not even ranked there. But there's good fights for him. I don't know. I'm trying to look at the top guys. What the hell happened to Aliasab Kizriev? He hasn't fought in so long. He needs to fight soon. I mean, Ruziboev, Edmund Shabazian. That's not a crazy take. That fight makes sense, actually. Ruziboev, Jun Young Park. Not a bad fight either. It's definitely some intriguing matchups for him, and I want to see more. I like Ruziboev's game. As far as Eric McConico, glad for his sake to be on the UFC roster, but it was a pretty bad performance, man. He couldn't close distance. He had no threats, and he got ran over. He didn't shoot takedowns, and Ruziboev rocked him, handled business. Clean win. Good performance by Ruziboev. Did what he had to do. Next up, Nikolay Veretennikov, Austin Vanderford. Late addition to the card, and I was an Austin Vanderford guy. Now, to be fair, I have watched Austin Vanderford for a very long time. I was hardcore into Bellator for years. If you don't know that about me, early in the days of the channel, I was the Bellator Mac. And Austin Vanderford was a guy that I always liked. Now, I had a bad pick in the past. I picked him to beat Gegard Mousasi, and he got destroyed. But either way, I always saw quality potential in his skill set. And now at 170, I felt like he could handle a journeyman like Veretennikov. And he did really well. His wrestling was super effective, got on top, worked good from top position, beat up Veretennikov with ground and pound, and then he ends up finishing him against the cage in round 2. It was a dominant display, and 70% of the people picked Veretennikov. I did not get it. I think it's a lot of people. They didn't watch Vanderford in Bellator, so they didn't realize his wrestling skill set was legit. And then, you know, it's easy to forget, right? He loses 2 in a row, and then he fights in LFA against some can, and he runs him over. But it's like, what can he do? Ultimately, the odds were even for a reason, because Vanderford is 34, nearly 35. We didn't know how much he had in the tank left, but he pulls through, and the pick was fucking beautiful. When I look at the fight, though, the performance was beautiful, too, as he fucked up Veretennikov really well. And Veretennikov gave Danny Barlow a tough fight. I know Barlow broke his hand, but still, tough fight. Veretennikov went 3 rounds with Michael Morales. Like, the way he fucked Veretennikov up, it has me really excited about Austin Vanderford. Now, this fight was at 175, so his next one will actually be in the welterweight division. So he's going to cut that extra 5, but he's done it before. Now, it's not like beating a Veretennikov. It's like, oh, well, now you're towards the top. No, Veretennikov, actually, by ranking MMA, is the second worst ranked welterweight on the roster. But I do think there's some intriguing matchups, man. I don't know how far they run him up the ranks. I don't know the exact opposition for him. Do they give him a debuting guy? Do they give him a vet? Huh. To be honest, I know Adam Fugit, his fight with Billy Ray Goff got canceled, but I could see if that fight isn't rescheduled between Fugit and Billy Ray Goff. I actually like the Vanderford and Fugit fight. I don't think that's a terrible idea. I don't think anybody would complain about him fighting Basil Hafez. I think that's a badass fight. Could even potentially take on somebody like an Angelusa. There's definitely some interesting opposition. Ramiz Brahimai. Actually, Ramiz might be it. There's a handful of fights that I like next for him, and I think he's teetering towards the, top 50 right now. He fought somebody who's technically ranked at 69, 0-1, Nikolay Veretennikov. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, though. Damn, I'm excited, man. I'm excited as hell. I'm looking forward to Vanderford's next fight, man. I like his style. I like the wrestling pressure. I like smash, okay? When I like to watch wrestlers fight, I like guys that beat the shit out of you from top position. And that's exactly what Vanderford did. After the fight, Veretennikov was a little bitch. There's no other way to say it. That is not sportsmanlike. You're a professional fighter, but that is little bitch attitude. You go up and shove fucking Vanderford. What the hell did he do wrong besides punch you in the face and control you in position? You want to be mad at the referee? Obviously, don't shove the ref. Don't shove anybody, but get mad at the ref. Don't get mad at Vanderford for doing what he had to do to beat you. And then you push him. You just got cut from the UFC and you look like a fucking sore loser and a disgrace, Veretennikov. That right there is shameful. You should publicly fucking apologize for that. Complete embarrassment. I would be so ashamed. That's so embarrassing. You get fucked up and you look like a bitch on TV. Terrible. Terrible by Veretennikov. Horrible sportsmanship. And yeah, I think he's getting cut. He put his hands on his opponent after the fight. I know they didn't cut Junior Tafa for smacking Walter Walker. They should have. They should have. They didn't. I think here, and the reason Tafa didn't get cut is he's a heavyweight. Heavyweight, they need fucking heavyweights. Heavyweight is fucking shit, but it's a different video. That's a different conversation. Veretennikov is out. Send him out. That attitude is terrible. Vanderford, though, quality win. And I like that Adam Fugit fight. I don't know. That's the one that jumped out. Ramiz Brahimaj could be cool, too. The Fugit fight's interesting. Maybe a booking of that. I like that. Very intriguing. Shout out to Vanderford pulling through, man. Big W. And good guy, bro. I met him in person years ago. Cool guy. Let's keep running. Next fight. Ricky Simón versus Javid Basharat. Bro. I honestly think Javid Basharat may consider retiring after this. Now, obviously, I think I'm joking. I hope he doesn't retire. Me and everybody thought Javid Basharat, probably a competitive 29-28 technical outstriking of Ricky Simón. It was actually starting to look like that was the direction we were going to go down. And Ricky Simón lifts the head of Basharat with the left hook, right? So the left hook lands, imagine it. The left hook lands, if you didn't see it. The head comes up. Simón throws the fucking wide beam of a right hand. Boom, boom. Oh my God. Basharat is flat before he hits the canvas, smashes his head against the ground. Violent KO. Performance of the night winner, no question. And Ricky Simón saves his UFC career, absolutely starching the prospect. Holy shit, that was a great performance by Ricky. He had some tough moments. He was pressing Basharat, but Basharat was out kickboxing him. You could see significant strikes. He was ahead. He was landing good shots. He was moving. He was hard to read. His rhythm was on point, but it takes one big power shot. I had a conspiracy theory. I thought the enormous head of Basharat would give him a better chin. Instead, it was a bigger target, and he got absolutely flattened. So, unfortunately, the bobblehead for Basharat got fucking bobbled off the canvas. Absolutely violent win for Ricky Simón. And he really did save his UFC career. 4 losses in a row. I mean, he's a vet, so they might have kept him around, but he would definitely be on the chopping block. Now, I mean, the possibilities are endless for Ricky Simón outside of, the elite caliber guys. What, ranked 23 in the world by Tapology? He definitely is somewhere amongst that. Ricky Simón, Chris Gutierrez makes a lot of sense to me. I like that fight. I like Ricky Simón and Chris Gutierrez. I think that makes a lot of sense, dude. I think that makes a ton of sense. That's the fight to make. Yeah. Simón Gutierrez. I think that's it. And I also think that we realize now the better Basharat brother is Farid Basharat. I do think he has a superior skill set to his brother. And damn, Javid losing 2 in a row, man. The UFC, listen, it's an unforgiving fight promotion. He lost his last one close. He got flatlined in this one. I don't know when he's coming back. But for Ricky Simón, highlight reel, pulling through. He's a Seattle guy, Washington State guy. Respect to the W. Badass win. Ricky Simón, I'm impressed. Clean knockout. Clean. Violent. Savage. Big W. Let's keep running. Next one, Mansour Abdul-Malik, Nick Klein. Now, this one was not without scare. Me and everybody in the world, besides some crazies, picked Abdul-Malik to finish. And he did. He did get the finish, but not without some worry in round 1. Got caught with a spinning back fist, but got caught with the elbow. Technically, the technique was not a spinning back elbow. The technique was a spinning back fist, but the elbow is what connected on the chin. Malik was badly hurt. Nick Klein did not follow up with enough of an offensive attack. Malik ends up, scrambling to hold on, survive, really, and he survived. He survived, man. He survived a really, really scary round 1. He even tried to get a spin elbow back on Nick Klein at the end of round 1. Missed it, but he went for it. Nick Klein looked great in the first, but he didn't finish the fight. He was taking this fight on short notice, and you have a young prospect hurt early. You got to get him out of there, I think. Abdul-Malik, I said it on the live stream. You go rewatch. I said he's going to come back. The live odds were close, and I said, bro, Malik's going to win. You can bet him. And look what he did. He followed up having a hard first round with a devastating second round. If you watch Nick Klein in the past, his lone loss prior to this fight, He gassed out. His wrestling, like in pressure, was effective early. He gassed and he ended up getting ground and pounded. This fight being on short notice, the gas tag was probably even more of a concern. He ends up getting finished by a ferocious Mansour Abdul-Malik attack. He was completely flat in the second round, and Malik hunted him down, throwing big shots, making Klein block and try to turtle up, and shots against the cage. Ref jumps in, calls it at the perfect time. This fight was over. Nick Klein was on wobbly legs, and he had nothing left in the tank. Mansour Abdul-Malik, you can look at it two ways. You can say, hey, he was hurt bad. Maybe he's a bit of a fraud. Or you can look at it the right way, the way that I'm seeing it. He got caught with a pretty unconventional technique. I'm not going to call it lucky, but, something that doesn't happen very often. A spin, back elbow or back fist with the elbow. He got rocked, and he showed us recovery. That's what I like. He showed us recovery. He's in very good shape. He has a good chin. He didn't go flat out. He recovered from it. He regathered himself. He stayed calm. He didn't get crazy wild. He stayed chill. He found his range in the next round, and he ended up getting the finish. So Mansour Abdul-Malik with a mature performance to move to 8-0. He's very much a developing prospect, but he's a promising one in the middleweight division. He's promising, man. He's a promising prospect. Like, let's look at his age. Mansour Abdul-Malik, what? 27 years old? That's a really good performance for a 27-year-old. To regather himself, calm down after being badly hurt, and then get the finish. I was impressed by that. I thought the finish was nice. He's in a very stacked weight class. The UFC middleweight division is elite. And, he's not really ready for too much of a jump in competition. It becomes harder to matchmake for somebody like him. But I don't know. I'm trying to think, what direction do we do? I know he was supposed to fight Trocoli. Trocoli probably not fighting him next now. I don't think they give him like an Azamat Bakayev, who's a really good prospect that's 19-3. No, I don't think that makes sense. I'm trying to think, what's the right matchup, man? A fair matchup for Mansour Abdul-Malik. So it's got to be somebody that's okay, but not great. Jose Medina's booked for a fight against somebody. Who's he fighting against? I could see him fighting the winner of that one. Hold on. They got to go slow with him. Let's see. Medina is booked to fight Ataba Gautier. Gautier is also a prospect from Contender Series. Maybe the winner of that, but they might push him in a different direction. Rebooking the Trocoli fight doesn't seem super likely. Do they give him the winner of Cody Brundage and Julian Marquez? It's not even that far-fetched. I don't know how that fight is the co-main event this coming Saturday. The guys are ranked below the top 50. Like, I know ranking MMA is not official, but they're ranked below the top 50. Holy shit. There's a lot of fights that could potentially happen for him, but I think you got to take it slow. Don't rush this kid up the ranks. He's got a lot of potential. You don't want to rush somebody like him too far up. Fucked up Tudorovic real bad. Zach Reese fight. That's a dangerous fight, though, but him and Zach Reese is not crazy. Cedric Dumas is booked for a fight. Who's he fighting now? Let me get Tapology up. Let me see. Cedric Dumas is booked to fight Olak Jacek April 12th. Could potentially fight the winner there or stay ready, and maybe if he's, fit enough, step in on short notice if there's somebody that needs an opponent. Interesting spot. Good prospect. Mansour Abdul-Malik's got a lot of skills, man. Don't look at it as a negative that he got rocked. Look at it as a positive that he recovered. So, big W for him. Impressive. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, Andre Fili, Melquizio Costa. I'm going to say this. Melquizio Costa, absolutely sensational with the choke. This is no knock on Melquizio with the guillotine. It was a great performance. Andre Fili fought with an extremely low fight IQ. If he paid any attention to what Melquizio Costa's good at, he's great at catching people in submissions. He has really good jiu-jitsu. I don't know why he left his neck there. Escaped the first guillotine, but then chose to leave his head in the same spot and allow Costa to get it. I do not understand the lapse of fight IQ. I don't know what happened. I think, Costa's got a nasty squeeze and his jiu-jitsu is really clean. It was a good technique. But my confusion lies upon why would Fili, the first thing, the takedown is risky against a jiu-jitsu guy like Costa. Okay, so you take him down. But why would you leave your neck in that position and allow him to get a front headlock on you? I struggle to fathom what happened there. Complete lapse of judgment from Andre Fili. Now, in striking exchanges, Costa was landing more. He was very accurate and active from the outside. Got caught with one good shot when they mixed it up in combination. Both did, but I think Costa got the brunt of it. His face reddened up from it. But still, Costa did a little bit more. I'll be honest, Costa is developing into a decent little prospect here. I mean, he just beat an Andre Fili, who, yes, not a guy that's reached, the heights of the UFC, but what? Now 12, 11, and 1 no contest in the UFC, 23 UFC fights, 24 UFC fights. That's an experienced vet. That's a super experienced guy. And I mean, win over Cub Swanson, competitive fashion, beat Lucas Almeida, beat Bill Algeo. Melquizio Costa, and he's got a shitload of experience at 22-7, but he's young at only 28 years of age. 2 wins in a row. His losses are not too bad. Steve Garcia is a fucking monster, and Thiago Moises up in weight. Melquizio Costa is starting to put it together, man. I'm impressed by the submission, and the submission, though, is not what impressed me more than anything. I actually think he was outstriking Andre Fili, who's normally a pretty good boxer. So I felt as that was really impressive, the fact that he could do that on the feet with him. Now it's an interesting spot, though, because I like to see who's next, potentially. I'm looking through. I mean, Andre Fili, a lot of UFC experience, even if he was not one of the higher-rated guys, right? They had him in the top 25 at Ranking MMA, though I don't necessarily agree. Is there an opponent that jumps out and makes me say, yeah, that's what's next? Oh, my God. Yeah, I got the perfect fight. Julian Erosa versus Melquizio Costa. Is Erosa booked for anything at the moment? If he's not booked, oh, man, Juicy J and him. Let's see. I think Juicy might be booked, though. Yeah, he's supposed to fight Darren Elkins. Damn. If he wasn't fighting Darren Elkins, that would be the fight. The Juicy J fight's not crazy, though. Still not crazy. Now I really don't know the direction. That fight just made a lot of sense to me. I don't think they give him somebody like a Gabriel Santos, another Brazilian savage. Sungwoo Choi is booked to fight Trevor Peek, I believe. Let me double check if that's true, but I'm 99% sure. I could see the winner of that fight fighting Melquizio Costa. That would be interesting. No, he's supposed to fight Kevin Vallejos. Who's Trevor Peek fighting? Trevor Peek is fighting somebody at this weight class. I swear, I thought it was Sungwoo Choi. No. Korean Tiger, he's fighting. Yeah, he's fighting Jung Young Lee. I could see a Jung Young Lee, Trevor Peek winner fighting against Melquizio Costa next. If they were going to be at 145, that makes sense. That's what I'll say is next. If Julian was available, I would have picked him. Sungwoo Choi is another guy. I could see him fighting him, but unfortunately with Kevin Vallejos getting that fight, that's probably not going to happen. Yeah, I think that might be it. The Korean Tiger, Trevor Peek, winner. The Trevor Peek, I know he's not the Korean Tiger. Jillian Young Lee, Korean Tiger, and Trevor Peek, winner of that fight versus Melquizio Costa. That makes a ton of sense, actually. I like that. Congrats to Melquizio Costa, man. Great performance. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card is our featured prelim of the night. Iwan Cutelaba. I called it. I told you he was going to fraud check this guy. I have been anti-Ibo Aslan for a while. I felt like this guy's so fucking overrated, man. To a delusional extent, though, because I ended up picking Cerqueira over him, which was just absolutely stupid a while back. But now I knew. I'm like, okay, I was dumb there, and I recognized that. I've gotten better since that point at picks, for sure. I said, okay, Cutelaba, good wrestling, decent enough stand-up, can get on top at some points throughout the fight, ends up locking up the sub and looks strong from top position. Aslan, he landed some big shots, and Cutelaba was evidently uncomfortable in exchanges with Cutelaba, but he was always throwing back. But what Ibo Aslan chooses to do is something that is technically wrong. Completely square up and just throw wild punches with, in my opinion, no awareness for takedowns coming at him. Like, defensively, you're really not going to stop takedowns being that reckless. And Cutelaba gets him to the ground, locks in the arm triangle, subs him up in a badass performance. Veteran savviness wins the fight. I was very happy with my pick of Iwan Cutelaba here, pulling through. But ultimately, I was just happy for Cutelaba, who's been on the roster forever. He's now 8-9 in the UFC. Not an impressive record, but a shitload of UFC experience. He's only 31. He's still getting better. And Ibo Aslan, young prospect, but one of those, heavy-handed guys that throw a bit wild, that aren't really that good. He's overrated. Anton Turkali swelled his eye. I'm not surprised he lost here. He also has the sus gyno. I was joking around before the fight. He's going to get Cutelaba in the mother's milk submission where you just squeeze him against your tits, bro. Very rare sub. I've only seen it one time. For Cutelaba, though, being on the roster as long as he has, only being 31, I don't think he makes it to the elite. But I do think that Cutelaba is somebody that's close to top 15 all the time. I think Modestas Bukauskas, who fought earlier, this was the matchup that I was saving. Modestas Bukauskas versus Iwan Cutelaba. Both guys coming off 2 straight finish wins. I think impressive. Or actually, excuse me, not a finish against Ivan Aslan last time for Cutelaba, but both guys coming off finishes. For Bukauskas, 2 finishes in a row. Tapology has them ranked 26 and 21. Tapology, again, not official, but I think they're on to something. They're around that rank, you know? I think Cutelaba versus Modestas Bukauskas makes a ton of sense. And then the winner of that fight is getting, extremely close to a top 15 fight. I don't think that's crazy by any means. So I'm going to say Cutelaba Bukauskas next. Cutelaba is a guy that's willing to take on all comers. I think that you match him up against a guy that's been surging. Bukauskas and Cutelaba is a fight that I want to see because Bukauskas has good wrestling defense. He has big power, and he's not stupid like Ibo Aslan. No diss as I'm calling him stupid. I'm not trying to shit on you, Ibo, if you happen to be watching. But your IQ in fighting is not to the level that a Bukauskas is. More power? Maybe. I don't know. I think Bukauskas is well-versed, and I actually think Bukauskas is not an easy fight for Cutelaba. With his improved takedown defense, his pretty good gas tank, his fight IQ, and his boxing skills, I could see Cutelaba being a good-sized favorite against Bukauskas and ended up losing that fight. So I would like to see those two booked. That's going to be my pick for the next fight. Cutelaba versus Modestas Bukauskas is a really cool matchup. Congrats to Cutelaba for the win, but I'm giving myself a pat on the back with that dog call. Let's go. Let's go. I knew the fraud check was imminent. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys are watching and enjoying and you haven't yet, make sure you hit that like button. Show some love. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Subscribe. And let's talk about our main card opener. Alonzo Menifield and Julius Walker in a pretty good back and forth fight. It was really close. You can see the stats in front of you. Extremely close according to the stats. Really hard one to score. I mean, Julius Walker had good pressure against the cage and combinations in close range. Alonzo Menifield hit him with bigger punches, but he looked gassed and uncomfortable at moments, and Walker had striking success too. When you break it down round by round, it's like first round, I was scoring it towards Walker, but then you could say, Menifield hit him with some big shots. Second round, I thought Walker might have took it with the control and pressure. But again, Menifield was still landing big shots that made Julius look uncomfortable. But either way, and then third round, Menifield landing big shots, but Walker being relentless with forward pressure, backing him up, landing good shots of his own. It was one of those fights where it's like you leave it in the hands of the judges with a close matchup like that. I don't know how it's going to go because both guys had good moments, but both guys showed flaws, right? Julius Walker's striking defense at times looked very clunky. He looked uncomfortable and off balance on his feet. Alonzo Menifield wings a lot of wide shots, and he struggled in the clinch. But ultimately, what kept Menifield alive throughout this whole fight and ultimately got him the win is the fact that he stopped majority of the takedowns. One takedown, but there was no damage done from it. When you see all of the control time for Julius Walker was cage control time. It was standing. It was against the cage, pressuring, throwing knees to the body. Walker gave a great account for himself on a UFC debut. I want to give that short notice debut to go 3 rounds with Alonzo Menifield and go almost to a win, right? He was right there. I thought 29-28 was a fair scorecard. 30-27 Menifield. No, I think you can give Walker the first, maybe the second. It's too close, man. Watching it live, I was like, I don't fucking know. First round, people in my chat said Menifield. I thought maybe Walker. Second round, I thought Walker. People thought Menifield. Third round, same type of thing. I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was a fight that was, separated by a very minimal differential. For Alonzo Menifield, though, being the 15th ranked guy in the world, and for a 6-0 debuting guy to go give him a run for his money like that, I think it speaks to the technicality of Walker and the potential that he has. Or does it speak to Menifield not being good anymore? Or maybe ever. I don't know. I still give Walker a lot of respect for going distance. I don't think this was the fight of the night. I don't. We'll talk about what I think is going to be fight of the night or should have been. This is officially fight of the night. I'll talk about it when we get there. This wasn't fight of the night. It was a really good fight, but this was not fight of the night. Technical fighting and this, no, it's not fight of the night. No fucking way. But regardless of that, Alonzo Menifield survives a dangerous debuting guy in Julius Walker, who's, someone to get excited about. Now, he was supposed to fight Umar Sy, but not until the end of March. I don't think it's a bad idea to rebook that fight. I don't think Alonzo Menifield with this win really gets much of a jump in rank. Like, I don't think he should be fighting guys ahead of him, barely getting past the debuting guy. Could end up fighting the Mingyang Zhang and Anthony Smith winner. I actually don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Umar Sy is also a real possibility for a fight against him. I don't think that's crazy by any sense of it. Yeah, I feel like that might be it. Honestly, the winner of Mountain Tiger and Smith, maybe. But Mountain Tiger wins, he's going to get a bigger fight. I'm looking, it's a weird spot. The Umar Sy rebooking, depending on when Sy is going to be recovered, probably makes the most sense. Now, I want to talk about what I think could be next for Julius Walker, because to debut and give, somebody that was, relatively good, a good run for his money, like, I think that's pretty badass. Like, do we do maybe Julius Walker versus Marcin Prachnio? Is that crazy to assume that's a possibility if Prachnio's still on the roster, which I believe he is? Prachnio, vulnerable, some deficiencies, not top 15, but not bottom end of the top 50. He's still somewhere in the mid top 30. Prachnio is actually kind of a sensible matchup for him. If Vitor Petrino is going to stay at heavyweight, they won't do it, but it could be a Petrino versus Walker. I could see Walker struggling with the power there. Rodolfo Bellato versus Walker is not crazy either. Bellato with the draw to Jimmy Crute, but I don't think the UFC is going to rebook it. Ivan Arslan, who made it a debut and lost a split decision to Cutelaba. That's a cool matchup too. There's definitely a handful of fights on the possibility side for Walker, but I'll tell you this. I think that Walker's a good prospect. Like, I think Walker, I'm looking at these other prospects in the division. 0-2 Tokos. I think Walker handles them. Brenison Hibero, I think Walker would have a chance if he gets it to the ground. Maybe he could get, knocked out if he got caught by a big shot, but I think he can win that. Billy Alacant, I think he can win that. He can beat a Cerqueira. Can probably beat a Navajo Sterling too. Ozzy Diaz. Now, Ivan Arslan would be a fight for him, or Bruno Lopez could be a harder fight for him. Bruno Lopez can mix it up with the hands all right. Really interesting position to be in. I don't know, man. The Rodolfo Bellato fight is saying maybe. Either that or Prachnio. I'm going to say Bellato or Prachnio could be next. Now, the UFC might book Bellato versus Prachnio because that kind of makes sense too. So then we could be left with maybe Ivan Arslan versus Walker. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with somebody like Walker. It might be a guy who's making his debut that takes him on next, to be fair. Or maybe they give him Cerqueira, who's coming off the terrible loss here and 2 bad losses in a row, because maybe they're trying to, use Julius Walker to, use Cerqueira to build Walker's confidence. I don't know for sure. But at 25, 26, he's 25, I think. Let me double check his age. I want to make sure I get it right, but I'm 80% sure he's 25 years old. Julius Walker is, 25. 25-year-old light heavyweight, 6'4", 81-inch reach, developing skill set, goes to a split decision with Alonzo Menifield on the debut. I'll say that's pretty fucking impressive. And I think his future is more bright than people expect. Now, I could see a guy with good takedown defense and better technique in striking with power fucking Walker up. But I definitely think Walker can beat some of these back-end light heavyweights. And I mean, the light heavyweight division is thin anyways. It's like, 35 fighters on there? 40 fighters not even on the roster? 39, 37? Interesting, man. I think Julius Walker is I think he's a good test for a lot of people. I think he can win some fights in this division. I definitely think he's somebody, if odds are close, you bet on in the future. I expect him to be a big favorite if he fought like a debuting guy or an 0-1 guy in the UFC, like a Billy Elakana fight. I'd expect him to be a good size favorite. I expect him to win the fight on the ground. Julius Walker gave a good account for himself on very short notice, and I can't imagine on a full camp. And at 25, every time he's going to get better and better. So respect to Walker for a gutsy performance and debut. Next fight, Gene Silva, Melsik Baghdasaryan. Listen, I'm going to put the shades on for this. I have to. Fighting nerds. Guys, Gene Silva, you can't ever doubt him. This right here, on paper, it was a mismatch because he just beat a Drew Dober, who's like, a former ranked top 15 lightweight. And now he's fighting a guy who's, 2-1 in the UFC, but a dangerous striker. The reason Melsik was there because of his striking prowess. He was a high caliber kickboxer that transitioned to MMA, and he's known for clean technique. Fucking Gene Silva drops him with the straight. Melsik is gone. Gene's looking at the ref. Yo, let's call it. Even Melsik's on. He's looking at the ref like, what? The ref doesn't call it. Silva with elbows to the head, shots up high, to the body, nasty 12-6 elbows, one up top, and finally the ref jumps in. Gene Silva's a monster, guys. Gene Silva is a terrifying prospect. Understand that I think Gene Silva is top 7. He's young too. Like top 7 right now. Who knows what the next, 24 months have for him. I can't imagine. Because when you look, he calls out Bryce Mitchell, who's a top 15 guy. Oh, I know Melsic's not high rated, but you look at Gene Silva, just absolutely destroyed Melsik Baghdasaryan. Fight before this, up in weight, gets a W over fucking Drew Dober. Yeah, it's a cut style. He did a lot of damage in that fight. Beat up Charles Jourdain, knocked him out, destroyed Weston Wilson, and a win on contender against Kevin Vallejos is also in the UFC, one on the contender the next season, and is a great prospect. Dude, I think that rankings are next. Right after the fight, Gene Silva makes a call out. He did it right. He called out Bryce Mitchell, and Bryce Mitchell replied. He said, there's only one Lord. You're not the Lord. Like he wants to fight him in the octagon. The Bryce Mitchell call out makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I'm expecting Gene Silva's takedown defense to hold. I think with the kicking abilities that he has and being at Fighting Nerds, his takedown defense should be sharp. His striking skills will fucking destroy Bryce Mitchell. I would like to see him in the top 15. Let's look at the official rankings here because I can now. This is 13 ranked. Bryce Mitchell. Bro. I know Yusuf Zalal's got a lot of hype just beating Calvin Kattar, but you can't tell me you don't think Gene Silva handles Yusuf Zalal too. I think he'd sleep him. Yeah, man. Bryce Mitchell might be the right fight. Already called him out. Both guys in agreement. I think it's a sellable fight that breaks him into the top 15. Yeah. Bryce Mitchell coming off the win over Kron Gracie, but let's be honest, the Kron Gracie fight was like a tune-up. Before that, he was badly chinned by Josh Emmett. I think Gene Silva can do bad things to Bryce Mitchell. Badass call out. And I know Mitchell's down for it. He's always down for a fight. Let's do it. Gene Silva, Bryce Mitchell. I think that's next. For Melsik, I mean, they'll keep him on the roster. I have no idea who he's going to fight. Somebody towards the bottom of the division. He's still a good striker, but there's levels. Like Gene Silva is on a title path. Melsik Baghdasaryan is on a hopefully I'm still in the UFC in 2 years path. You get the difference? It's a vast one. Gene Silva, right now, I look at the top and I say to myself, okay, Gene Silva is 28 years old. So really now just entering his prime or maybe not even primed yet. He beats a Bryce Mitchell. I mean, he's making a run towards the top. Look at the division. I would think he has a chance against any of these top guys. Movzar might give him problems with the wrestling, right? Holy shit. Gene Silva might be fighting for the belt in 2026, man. If he beats Bryce later this year, if he fights one more time before the end of the year against somebody else ranked at the top, somehow he gets into a Lerone Murphy fight, knocks him out. Patricio Pitbull coming to the UFC. He'll be in the mix. The options are endless, man. Gene Silva, you need to be excited. When you recognize talent like this, you need to keep your eye close on it. This is going to be a spectacular run, and enjoy it while you have it. Special moments like a Gene Silva, they don't come around all the time. Fighting Nerds is producing killers right now. We're getting a lot of exciting fighters from there. Kyle Baraiho, Gene Silva, Mauricio Rufy, even though he had a subpar performance with Yontop, he looks really good, and he's fighting Bobby Green. Another one, Carlos Prates, fighting Jeff Neal. The Fighting Nerds team is popping off, and Gene Silva is a monster. I'm really excited for his next fight. He's crying after the fight. Special fighter. And I do think Gene Silva breaks into the top 15 this year. I will guarantee it. Then he fucks Bryce Mitchell up. And then I think sky's the limit, man. I do. I can see Gene Silva as a title challenger. With his striking prowess, very big power, good speed, takedown defense, trains with Fighting Nerds. You know his grappling's on point. Gene Silva, listen, I'm not trying to run it too far, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he gets a fight for a world title in the next, 15 to 24 months, and he ends up fucking up whoever's champ. Gene Silva is cut from the cloth of championship caliber, and I am so damn excited, man. I am so damn excited, and you should be too. Big win for Gene Silva. Everybody picked him, including myself, and he looked absolutely awesome. Rob Font versus Gene Matsumoto. I went with Rob Font as my savage dog lock, and the lock of the week came through. Rob Font handled business in very close fashion, and I want to break it down round by round to talk about why I think he won. But before I do such a thing, I think these two were stolen fight of the night honors. They should have both got an extra 50K. Walker and Menifield was a good fight, but these two should have got 50K. They should at least get 25. They should give them something. I actually think this was a better fight. It was a higher level. I know Matsumoto had moments of control, but look how it finished. Look at the exchanges. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreaching. You let me know in the comments if you think this was fight of the night or if you prefer Menifield Walker as fight of the night. I think this was more high-level technical brawl where Walker and Menifield had moments where they really looked amateuristic. But regardless, let's talk about this fight. Glove touch from Font, jab, straight, rocks Matsumoto. Opening bell. Dirty technique, yes. He landed good shots on the feet in round number 1. Matsumoto then landed a nice right hand, too, that backed Font up and had some grappling control time, too, to finish out the round, but didn't do much. Font won the majority of the striking exchanges in round 1 with a minimalistic grappling damage-based game from top, more just control from Matsumoto at the end. With the modern scoring being damage should be number 1 criteria, I feel as though you have to favor Font's winning of the striking exchanges as opposed to the one striking exchange won by Matsumoto and then control time, which is negated by the damage of what Font did, which is why I scored him the first round. Second round, Gene Matsumoto. Good control, good takedowns, landed decent shots in the feet, attacking with the leg kicks. I think he looked quality in round number 2. He was on point with a lot of takedowns. They weren't just simple takedowns. He was slamming Rob Font on the mat in round 2, and he did more damage. He stole the second round, no doubt. Round 3, Rob Font beat up Matsumoto. He cut him with a short elbow on the inside. He landed good shots on the feet. He was able to be more defensively sound wrestling-wise in this round, even getting back up to his feet and surviving some bad positions with Matsumoto, who's a danger threat. Font, even at one point, was this second or third round? I don't remember for sure, but he had a Kimura grip. There's a Kimura sweep you can do from there. He was unsuccessful in doing such a thing. You know what's crazy? When I was doing jiu-jitsu, I hit that on a Division I wrestler, and he said to me, bro, what the fuck? He said, brown belts don't get me in that technique here. I said, well, that's my one move, my brother. That's my one move. Well, what's funny is Rob Font didn't end up pulling it off, and Matsumoto was able to escape, but eventually Font back up to his feet. The striking skills of Font are what won him the fight. He had a dominant third round. Not super, super dominant. I should probably pull that back a little bit. But a round-winning performance in the third round where he cut Matsumoto up. He won the majority of exchanges. Both guys swinging for the fences until the final bell. Gene Matsumoto proved to me that he's legit when I had my doubts leading into this fight. The pick was Rob Font, and I called the decision. I thought it'd probably be 29-28. Matsumoto brought it tooth and nail throughout the whole thing, and he gave himself a good account. I know he's the favorite coming in, but the lines were bullshit here. Rob Font should have been the favorite. It made no sense that Matsumoto was the favorite, besides the books trying to trap you to a bet there. Rob Font gets it done. I think fair decision, 2-1. Close in the first, did enough, I think. Third, definitely him. Second round, favorite towards Matsumoto, but ultimately close first and second. More so clean win of the third round, like the most clear-cut round. If you're scoring the fight as a whole, Rob Font definitely won, because the third round was the most damaging moments, and Rob Font did the most damage. Definitely won the fight because of it. And, you know, even if you're scoring a 10-point must system, I think Rob Font's the winner. Rob Font will hold on to his ranking, but just barely, though, because Matsumoto gave him all he could handle and is a badass prospect at 25, which now I see it. Rob Font was ranked at number 9 in the world in this fight here. Holy hell. Where does he go from here? I don't know if he's fighting forward, man. I doubt he fights Song Yadong, who fought in the main event. Cejudo, I don't see it. I don't know. He already lost to Jose Aldo. I don't think they would do like a Mario Batista fight. Is Batista booked? Is Batista fighting Chito Vera, or is that my imagination? Let's find out. Let's check. Mario Batista, is he not booked? Mario Batista versus, you know, Rob Font makes sense. I was joking on stream. I was saying, you're right. Matsumoto was robbed. He was outdogged by Rob Font. He wasn't robbed on the decision. This was a fair scorecard. Font did enough to win. But competitive fight, close fight, and a good back and forth. But Rob Font, he deserved the W. As far as next fight for him, hard to pick one, man. I'm actually having a hard time for Rob Font because I don't know, right? He's 37. Supposed to fight Dom Cruz. Dom Cruz retired. If Cruz wasn't retiring, I'd say let's just rebook that fight. He's not going to get a rematch against Jose Aldo. That doesn't make sense. Marcus McGee's a good prospect. That could be the fight. McGee on fire. Lockdog, Vinicius Oliveira. I think Vinicius Oliveira beats the shit out of Rob Font, man. I don't even think Rob Font is number 9 in the world. I think how close this fight here with Matsumoto was, we recognize he's not. He's probably, you know, maybe 12. Marcus McGee could give him trouble, though. The McGee fight's not crazy. Vinicius Oliveira, who's broken into the top recently, just beat Said Nurmagomedov. I think that's a good fight. Montel Jackson. Every fight I'm seeing is a really hard one. Like, he beat Kyler Phillips, but outside of beating Kyler Phillips, I don't think he's beaten anybody else in the top 15. Eamon Zahabi, maybe. Zahabi versus Font is not crazy. Zahabi also a flawed guy in that top 15. I think Vinicius Oliveira fucks up Rob Font, fucks up Zahabi. Montel Jackson's better. I think he's better than Zahabi. I think Montel Jackson could even beat a Rob Font too. Because Font's at that number 9 spot, but he's holding the spot, but he's not the number 9 guy in the world. I have a hard time believing that. Good performance, though, for him. Gene Matsumoto, I doubt they give him a ranked fighter again. They could rebook the Chris Gutierrez fight, but like I talked about, I think Gutierrez versus Simón might be the matchup to make. There's another guy in the corner, Daniel Marcos, but he's not going to fight against Rob Font, even though Font's ranked number 9, but he shouldn't be. I could see Gene Matsumoto, Cody Garbrandt. That's not crazy. Gene Matsumoto versus the John Castaneda, Douglas Silva de Andrade winner. That's not crazy. Gene Matsumoto versus Muin Gafarov, if they want to give him somebody more properly ranked towards him, or even versus Raul Rosas. There's a handful of fights for Gene Matsumoto. I don't know the direction the UFC is going to go, but those are some options that I think make sense. For Font, I think we got to get him out of that top 10. Give him Marcus McGee or Vinicius Oliveira. I think he's got to fight for that spot. He should not be ranked in the top 9. I don't see him as a top 9 guy. But still, savage dog lock, the win on the pick. But I tell it as it is. I don't think Rob Font is one of the absolute best in the world at the weight class. I think he's real good. And I think Matsumoto's a talented guy in the come up. So, good call. Let's keep running. Next fight in the card, Brendan Allen, Anthony Hernandez. Another fight that went pretty much exactly how I thought it would. Hernandez gets it. Scorecards, competitive fashion. Thought so. Looking at how the matchup played out, round number 1, Hernandez doing well, but instead choose to be over-aggressive in his hunt for more dominant position, ends up like falling to his side, and then Allen reverses him and gets on top as Hernandez was shooting for back position. Brendan Allen gets on top and beats the shit out of Hernandez to finish that round. Dominant round 1 for Brendan Allen. And it was truly because of the counter from Allen, because of Hernandez's mistake, getting over-aggressive in the hunt for back control. If he would have just, been more patient, I mean, he could have controlled that round too. And then we saw in the second and third, a more patient Hernandez finds takedowns. He broke the takedown record, UFC history, most takedowns in middleweight UFC history. Isn't that crazy? Even DC would say, you don't think of him as a D1 wrestler. Well, we're seeing it's not all about collegiate wrestling. It's about takedowns and fist fights. And Hernandez has a really good ability at getting fighters to the ground. He's unorthodox with his takedown attempts. Getting Brendan Allen down 4 times, that's impressive because Allen's a really good grappler. Winning the grappling exchanges consistently against Brendan Allen, that's impressive. Allen actually almost had Hernandez locked in a rear naked choke in round 1 too, but Hernandez's submission defense is extremely crafty and he spun out of it. Very good grappling exchanges between both. Hernandez shooting for his normal arm in guillotine, but Allen staying right in the middle, not giving his back, but not giving the choke. He knew it was coming. You can tell that both of these guys knew each other. This was a rematch, right? And you can also tell that Allen and Hernandez, they've seen a lot of each other fight in the UFC. They know each other's abilities and patterns. And Hernandez controlled the second round from top, worked some ground and pound, controlled the third round from top, worked some ground and pound, ends up eking it out in the judges' scorecards, 29-28. And what was impressive, because Brendan Allen's not bad. Allen's striking actually looked really good. If you look, Allen got caught with a punch by Hernandez. I believe it was the third round, but don't quote me. It could have been the second. I was on stream for 6 hours. I'm trying to remember. He caught him to the eye, and then Allen said, it's an eye poke. The referee called it. They watched the replay. It wasn't. Fight continues through the momentum a bit. And then Allen ends up hurting Hernandez with the shot on the feet and hurting his eye. And then Hernandez is in survival mode a bit. And then Hernandez ultimately got the fight to the ground, had success, was able to survive the scary moments and finish with dominance. I'm pretty sure it was round 3. Yeah, it was round 3. I'm 100% sure now. Good work by Hernandez to get on top, control, and work ground and pound. Took on another tricky grappler and out-grappled him. Hernandez is in a great spot. I'm just going to say the matchup. Roman Dolidze, Vettori winner versus Hernandez. Matched them up. Vettori and Dolidze are fighting pretty soon. And I think the timelines will probably work, assuming, Vettori and Dolidze want to stay active, unless maybe they have intentions of taking a layoff, which they shouldn't. I hope they don't. Looking towards the top 15. Marvin Vettori, he's fighting March 15th against Dolidze, so less than a month, about 3-ish weeks from now. Yeah, that makes sense, man. The timeline should work. Vettori hasn't fought since 2023. Damn. Vettori hasn't fought since June of 2023, a year and a half, bro. He's been out for a while. Dolidze's been a lot more active. I think Dolidze, if he does go out and win, that fight's even more compelling than a Vettori fight with Hernandez. Both guys good grapplers, right? Dolidze was an ADCC champion, I believe. That's a really cool fight. I think Dolidze could handle Vettori, a little early lean. I'm kind of thinking Dolidze beats Vettori in the rematch because he was doing well in the first fight and kind of got robbed. It's a rematch that makes sense. And I think Dolidze, if he wins it, let's say he gets it done, him and Fluffy's a great fight. If that's not the fight for Fluffy, there's a Jared Cannonier fight, but I don't know, man. I kind of have a pipe dream of Jared Cannonier versus Paulo Costa, or maybe Jared Cannonier versus Strickland too, but those are reaches. I don't know for sure what the UFC is going to end up deciding, but either way, Anthony Hernandez is legit in that UFC top 10, and he's got a tricky style. I mean, when you think of him moving up, though, when you think of some of the more gnarly guys, so right now, Hernandez just beat, skilled guy at the number 9 ranked Brendan Allen. Like I said, the Dolidze Vettori winner makes the most sense. Whitaker's a hard fight. Barrio. Adesanya, I could see him finding vulnerabilities in the grappling, but on the striking, he'd be a dead man. I think Hernandez could beat a Dolidze Vettori winner. And then from there, the matchups get terrifying. But I'm all here for it. I'm a Hernandez fan, as we all should be. For Brendan Allen, he'll get sent back. But, bro, just give him the loser of Vettori Dolidze. I don't think that's crazy by any sense. I think that makes sense. Vettori Dolidze loser? Yeah. It's interesting. Michel Pereira is fighting Abus Magomedov. I don't think that fight makes sense because I would also like to see Pereira have to fight Allen. I think he'd struggle with that grappling. Roman Kopylov versus Allen's not crazy, but clash of styles with the super impressive striking of Kopylov and the demonic grappling of Allen. Demonic's not the word, but the damaging grappling. He's a good grappler, just not as good as Fluffy. Fluffy, big things coming. He's making a run. I don't know if he gets to the top, but he's definitely making a legit run, and he's 100% top 10. Super impressed. Good performance. Next fight, main event. This was the dud of the night, though. Our main event was the worst fight of the night. Not of what actually happened as far as the fight, but just how it ended. It ends with a bad eye poke in round 3 with about 1:15 left. It doesn't end at that point, so Cejudo continued, but let me elaborate further. There's also a groin shot from Yadong in that round as well, which caused the timeout. So 2 fouls. Cejudo badly eye poked. He's saying he's seeing double, but the referee definitely wants him to continue. Cejudo decides, okay, I'll continue for the next 1:15. He pretty much just runs from Song Yadong for the entire 1:15, trying to stay away from Song. And then between rounds, he says, hey, we have to start. He said, I can't see. He said, I'm seeing double. I can't see. Stop the fight, essentially. But Herzog did not want the fight to be a no contest. He said, all right, I'm going to start the round, but then the doctor's going to come in and stop it. So they kind of finagled the system a little bit to have the round completed so they go to the scorecards. Interesting how those little fine technicalities change everything. I don't think you need all that mumbo jumbo. Let's keep it as is. Ends round 3. Okay, it stops in the corner. You score it as is because of the eye poke. But regardless, Henry Cejudo won it out. Maybe, yeah, kind of. He was hoping for a no contest, though. I don't think that he was thinking it'd be a loss. He was thinking maybe a no contest. But when he chose to continue after getting eye poked, that's what got him the loss. If he said he was out, they wouldn't have scored the fight. They would have just said no contest. Not a DQ. I think it would have been just a simple no contest. But because the round finished, kind of screws him because he couldn't see. People were saying, oh, he's a bitch. He wanted out. He could see. No, I think he really couldn't see. And he would prefer the fight be a no contest than a loss to Song. They go to the scorecard. Song definitely ahead. Gets it. Two scorecards, 29-28, 130-27. I think Song Yadong deserved the win without a doubt as far as what we're scoring, what we're seeing. But yeah, inconclusive finish. Unfortunate. First round, Song Yadong's boxing looked crisp and he was outstriking Cejudo a bit. Second round, Cejudo had some success and actually busted up Song Yadong's nose with stiff jabs, and I thought Cejudo won the second round. Third round was competitive, but Song was landing cleaner shots, and I think he was winning the round, but a round that was filled with fouls, which is unfortunate. And then they go the distance, 3 rounds. They score it for Song. He gets it done. He wins the fight, but it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. And after the fight, Song said he wants to run it back. Cejudo said yes. Dana said, fuck no. Dana shut it down at the press conference. I saw the clip. He's like, no, we're not doing that again. I don't want to see it. I guess I get why. He didn't like how the fight ended. He don't like Cejudo much because Cejudo retired years ago and kind of fucked them. And he's like, no, we're not doing you any favors. Song beat you. He's got to win over Triple C. We're going to keep moving Song forward. We're not going to give you a chance to beat him in a rematch. Cejudo 38, but still looked competitive. He won moments in the fight. He had a good second round. Like I said, I think 29-28 was the real card. I don't agree with 30-27. I think he definitely won the second round. He busted Song up a bit. Song was bleeding. Cejudo was making a fight, but Song was getting the better of him in the combinations. He was faster. He was stopping every takedown. Cejudo could not get him to the ground. The wrestling defense of Song Yadong, those hips were crazy. He was like stopping takedowns before they even got close. He did enough to win it with punch combinations, but unfortunate end. I guess I prefer it judged from what we saw as opposed to the fight being stopped and called a no contest. Better to go distance, and Song gets a win. The UFC wanted that. Song just beat the number 7 guy, Cejudo. Figueiredo, Sandhagen booked. I don't know. Umar Nurmagomedov and Piotr Jan seem destined to fight, with O'Malley probably Marab. That kind of leaves Chito Vera as an availability. That's not a bad matchup. That rematch, if you remember, years ago, that fight was at 145. He fought Song Yadong, and Vera got absolutely robbed. He's not booked for a fight right now. And I know he's on a 2-fight losing streak, and, Song coming off the win. But as far as, when you're in the upper echelon of rankings, it's not all about you just coming off a win. You fight a guy coming off a win or a loss and a guy coming off a loss. I think it works out, due to availabilities and whatnot. I think that it makes a lot of sense to do Song Yadong versus Marlon Chito Vera 2 as a 5-round main event to get a conclusive answer on those two. Because their first fight, many thought Vera won by a bit. At the time, I believe I thought that he had won, but he ultimately got robbed by decision. Fight was at 145, though, not 135. I want to see it at 135. I want to see it as a 5-round fight night main event. It's an intriguing matchup, and I think it's definitely better than running the Cejudo fight back. When I look at Henry Cejudo, he was talking a lot of shit to Mario Batista, and I think that fight makes a lot of sense. Now, they could do a Rob Font fight, but I just don't feel like the UFC is doing Cejudo any favors at this point. They're like, no, we're not doing you a favor. We're going to make you fight Mario Batista, who just, grinded out Aldo in a horrible fight. My God, he might end up beating Cejudo in a close decision in similar fashion, but that's also a fight night main event. That could be a 5-round fight too. I like the idea that it's 5. Nah, but they might put it on a pay-per-view and just do 3 rounds. The UFC's like, we don't want that shit as a main event. We don't want that as 5 rounds. Like, they don't, I don't know, man. I feel like the UFC don't got much love for Batista or Cejudo. So, let's just have them fight one another. But I think that makes sense. Unfortunate for Cejudo. He didn't look bad. His leg kicks were effective. I mean, he shut Song Yadong's foot down for a few seconds in round number 1 when Song was off balance after his legs were getting chopped up. His hands look okay. He busted Song's nose up. He's 38, but he still seems in pretty good physical condition. Seems to still have decent timing. Wrestling was a non-factor in this fight because Song wasn't playing that game. Yeah, I think Cejudo versus Mario Batista is the fight to book. I hope that the UFC follows through with that and they do it. I hope they do Song Yadong Vera too. I think that's the perfect assessment. Now, disappointment with the main event, for sure, with how it ended. I wanted to see a conclusive finish, but I did call Song decision, so a perfect prediction. But it ends in 3 rounds instead of 5 due to the fouls. No, I don't think he should have been DQ'd. I think that going to the scorecards made sense. It was unfortunate for Cejudo because he continued, and then he pretty much just gave up the 3rd round, and he was already behind, right? Let's say Cejudo would have known that, the fight's going to end after this round. He maybe would have gave it more, but he said he couldn't see anything. He has double vision, whatever. Couldn't see out of one of his eyes, and he quits in between rounds due to an illegal strike, though, so it's fair. It's not like a punch shut his eye, and, then there was, any controversy. No, it was clean. It was an illegal poke. It was dirty, but they go to the scorecards. It is what it is. I don't think Cejudo's a bitch for it. I know a lot of people were shitting on him, right? Oh, he wanted out. No, it's just he was compromised, and he recognized his Song Yadong can absolutely crack, and I don't think Henry Cejudo wants to get knocked out, so I don't blame him. Ultimately, I think that Cejudo is towards the end of his run. I think he's got 1 or 2 fights left. They're not going to do this rematch. I think the UFC's against it, and I think I kind of agree. Let's do Cejudo versus Batista and Song Yadong versus Marlon Chito Vera. I think those are just simply better fights and more relevant for the division at this point. So I would prefer that. If I'm UFC matchmaker, if my matchmaker hat is on and this is it, I'm picking those fights next. Yeah, Song with a good win. A good win, but a flawed win, right? Controversial win, I guess. But he was winning the fight. Without a doubt, Song looked like he was going to get the decision. I don't think, regardless of the fouls, I'm going to say this, eliminate the fouls. I think the fight goes the same way. I think Song gets it on the cards. He was starting to take over the fight. Unfortunate fouls, for sure. But he was winning exchanges, landing cleaner, and finding his rhythm against Henry Cejudo. And Cejudo lost momentum after the 2nd and couldn't find it in the 3rd. So, Song Yadong with the win. Huge favorite, too. The books got you guys. If you played Cejudo, they tried to fool you. They was bamboozling you. I told you all week. Now, as far as the picks, 9 wins and 3 losses on the card. Main event, big W with Song Yadong by decision. Perfect pick here. Picked Hernandez over Allen. Perfect pick here. Had decision as well. Font, Savage Doglock over Matsumoto. Decision call. Perfect pick as well. Silva, Baghdasaryan. Money pick there. Had him. I did pick Julius Walker to beat Menifield, but he was close. A loss, but in competitive fashion. Cutelaba Aslan had the underdog. Had the Aslan fraud check called, so money pick there. with Costa and Fili. I did pick Fili to pull through, ends up getting subbed. I mentioned the Costa sub on the show yesterday, though, so I guess decent little read on the possibility of the sub threat. Had Malik inside distance. Klein called this one here. Dude, I thought Basharat and Simón were going to go all three. Did not see this one coming. Simón with a violent KO. Had Vanderford to beat Veretennikov, and he was more impressive than I even thought he would be, and he was a dog when I picked him. Ruziboev over McConico knockout, perfect pick. Bukauskas over Cerqueira knockout, perfect pick. So really good pick. So that's 1 win, 2 win, 3 win, 3 wins and 1 loss, 4 wins and 1 loss, 4 wins and 2 loss, 5 wins and 2 loss, 5 wins and 3 loss, 6 wins and 3 loss, 7 wins and 3 loss, 8 wins and 3 loss, 9 wins, 3 losses. So pretty amazing picks. Savage dog lock hits, and also my prelim dog of the card pulls through with Cutelaba. Damn, I'm real happy with the predictions, man. I feel like I'm cooking nicely. I'm very dialed in right now to the tape, and I'm killing it. I will rate the prelims of this card as amazing. The undercard is sensational. The main event of a letdown. I don't know, man. Because the main event, it brings it to like a 3.5-star card. These fights, listen, if you were judging it off this fight, you went to Matsumoto and Font, you would say this card is fucking spectacular. It was a banger, right? You would have thought this card was going to finish as a 9.5 out of 10. This fight was a good back and forth. I love the grappling transitions. This was a great fight too, but just the dud of a main event makes it not nearly as special. So like 3.5 star because of the main event being lackluster, but great finishes on the prelims. Violent card. Majority of fights finish. So the whole prelims was straight violence, bro. Did any fight in the prelim go distance? No. No fight on the prelim went distance. That's badass. Then on the main card, we had 3 decisions, but overall, violent fights. 4 decisions actually on the main card. Yeah, 4 decisions on the main card. 1, 2, let me double check. 3, yeah, 4. But still a violent knockout for Gene. I'll give it a 7.5, 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7.5 because I liked what went down. 7.5. I can see it. 3.75 stars. It's just the main event killed it. If the main event was good, could have been a fucking 5-star card. Badass fight night. I hope you guys enjoyed the week's worth of content. I'm back at it later today. It's already Sunday, the 23rd of February. I'll be breaking down next week's UFC Vegas card, so make sure you guys tune in to the content all week. I got love for each and every one of you. Thank you guys for supporting. Make sure you guys smash the like button. I hope you guys enjoyed the post-fight show for UFC Seattle. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit subscribe. Let me know what you thought of everything in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the picks, the fights, everything. And if you have nothing to say in the comments, please enjoy the content. As always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.